Welcome to Democracy 2.0 with Wayn Bouchard. And I'm Malcolm Berman, and you're heard on malcolmpresents.com, a new streaming platform brought to educate and entertain you. Welcome, Wayn.
Good afternoon, Malcolm. How are you today?
Troubled.
And troubled by
listening to the news first in the morning when I wake up to the Supreme Court decision about being able to carry concealed weapons on one's person without a special permit. And then when I was listening to the Senate committee on the January 6th, it's troubling. I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, there were a lot of things troubling. I guess, since the last time we talked, one of the things that makes me optimistic is that, today's witnesses on the January 6th House committee hearings were from the Justice Department, and what day was it? Tuesday's witnesses were from the state of Georgia and the state of Arizona. All of these people being Republican witnesses. The people Tuesday admitted that they had voted for Mr. Trump, supported Mr. Trump, had been lifelong conservative Republicans, and still were testifying that the election wasn't stolen, and testified to their duty to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And the same thing is happening right now with the Justice Department officials, and that gives me a little bit of optimism that I can only imagine what it's like to be pressured by the President of the United States to do something. And I would assume that it's very, very difficult to make a decision to the contrary. And not only to make that decision, but to stick by that decision for several weeks has to be very, very difficult. And,
well, the thing that
go ahead.
I expected that that there's really nothing new that I really learned, because I thought this was going to happen, and I heard before that the pressure that the president was putting on. But what disappoints me is the amount of people that still would say who would still be pro-Trump, saying, this is what any person would do who thought that the election was fixed and that it was he was cheated out of the election, and they're going to stick up for him. And
I think it's pretty striking that the Republican members of the House and the Senate are uncharacteristically quiet. There's been very, very little pushback. And, maybe that's by design, but I kind of doubt it.
Pushback in what way? Saying that this is not true, or they're defending the president?
Right. No one, I find, don't you find it interesting that the only evidence that they ever brought forward of voter fraud or some sort of mischievous activity at the polls were in those swing states that they lost? They never contended that there was any voter fraud in the state of New York, California, New Jersey, Maine.
The states that they
don't you find that kind of amusing?
Yeah. Well, I feel well because they were pinpointing the states that would have swung the election.
Well, those are the only places they had problems.
Uh, Well, I think those were the only places that they were, that it was close. Well, actually, some of them really, it wasn't even close. But the way he was trying to, it was interesting to see the way he was trying to maneuver, what he would tell these people. You know, the different Republicans thing, you know, all I need is so-and-so. In fact, today it was, all you have to, I think the guy, the DOJ, all you have to say is that we did receive some abnormalities in the election, and let us take over.
And we'll just say that there were some anomalies in the election, and me and the Republican congressman will do the rest.
Right, and he had quotes from that. I think Bauer, what was his name? That
Bauer was the Arizona Speaker of the House. Very compelling witness. Very.
Right. Because I mean, these people had copious notes when they were speaking to the president. This is a direct quote from him. So this is not hearsay. You know, a lot of the things were hearsay. This is what the president said too. But this is when he spoke directly to them. And he wanted them to, you know, just say that there have been abnormalities, you know, that it wasn't on the, you know, it wasn't legit. And he provided the proof.
And the FBI raided the home of that one assistant attorney general this morning, Clark. So they must have gotten enough evidence from the committee to warrant getting to go to a federal judge and get a search warrant and go raid the house of a former Justice Department official.
I hope the federal judge was someone that was appointed by Trump.
By Trump. You know, John Dean pointed out that during the Watergate hearings that no one's house had ever been, you know, the FBI never searched anybody's house looking for records.
Didn't they do the attorney general? Wasn't his house searched?
Well, if it was, then John Dean was misspoken today.
But and this isn't the only news of the day. Of the last few days, with the Supreme Court coming out with a 6-3 decision about you can have concealed. Well, not that you can have concealed weapons. This was New York. I remember when I lived in New York. I think it was called the Sullivan Act.
Mm-hmm.
That you can't, within New York City, you cannot have. You can't have concealed weapons unless you have a special permit for it. It's not that you can own a gun, but even if you have a gun and had a permit for a gun, you couldn't carry it concealed. And this was knocked down. So I can imagine the mess this is going to cause.
Well, you know, the interesting part about it is going to be I wish I had access to there was an article in the New York Times, and I can't remember exactly what it said, but what it reminds me of is you know, the shootout at the OK Corral. You know, everybody's just going to strap on a 6-gun and we can just go at one another at will. You know, and it also you know, this whole issue calls into question all sorts of licenses and licensing requirements, not just guns, but for a lot of other things.
Yeah, I don't think I think it takes away from my liberty that I have to have a license to drive.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Why do you have to have a license to drive? Why do I have to have a license to go fishing?
Yeah, I mean, the Constitution says, you know, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
I always thought it was kind of amusing that I needed a license to go fishing, but I didn't need a license to have sex and make babies or be a parent.
Yeah, well, Well, that's what they
You
should
should
do.
have to pass some kind of a test to bring children into this world, but
Then there
that's
wouldn't be
neither here nor
population
there.
explosion.
That's probably going to be tomorrow's decision by the Supreme Court. And of
But,
course, the Supreme Court ruled yesterday that it's okay to donate money to religious schools.
right.
That and which goes contrary to our basic fundamental beliefs. Why are we here? Why did we come here in the 1600s and 1700s?
Well, I didn't get to California till the 2000 till 1979.
Oh, no, I meant
I know what you meant.
freedom of religion,
Freedom of religion to separate church and state.
separation of church and state was paramount. But this Supreme Court, it will not be an issue because of the makeup of the Supreme Court.
Well, then shouldn't the churches be taxed?
Yes. Yes,
Will
by
that
all
be-
means.
Would that be the next issue?
Well, if I were a member of the county commissioners of, or whatever, is the governing body over, let's say, the city of New York, I would certainly want to tax St. Patrick's Cathedral. I think that would be a lucrative, income stream coming in.
Well, I don't know if it's still true now, but I remember when I lived in New York that the largest landowner in New York City was a Catholic church.
It probably.
I'm not sure whether that's still the truth.
And I don't want to get into a Catholic bashing thing here, but
Well, why not?
well, because we have the same issue in a lot of southern communities with a lot of these other religions. So, and
We'll stick to religion in general. We won't get to any denomination.
yeah, we should not single out any denomination, but certainly the country is taking a definite turn towards a loss of freedom of religious belief, separation of powers.
Mhm.
We will be probably sooner than later experiencing much more gun violence in our cities on a regular, notwithstanding the gun violence that we're going to that's going to continue to occur as a result of all these assault weapons. And quite frankly, Malcolm, and I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment. I don't think there's anything wrong with people owning rifles and pistols and hunting. But there should be some differentiation between hunting deer and antelope versus second and third grade children in schools. There's just no need for these assault weapons in our society. None.
Well, there's no reason. The assault weapons were developed for war. War. Yeah, that was the AR-15. It's a weapon of the war, weapon of the soldiers.
Correct.
Don't know why a civilian would need something like that. And it's funny. It's even with the rifles with hunters. I'm anti-hunting. I see this guy with this high scope. This high-powered rifle. With the scope, and he's about 200 yards from this beautiful animal, and he has it in the scope, and he shoots him and kills him.
Mm-hmm.
And this is macho. I could see if they're going down, if they're big game hunters, and there was a sort of a, it's either me or them type of thing, where the animal is charging at them, and they have, 2 seconds to fire, which I don't think they should be doing it. but at least I could see why guys would be really turned on by that. I mean, this is macho, so to speak.
Right.
It's a challenge. But to kill a poor deer that's 200 yards away with a rifle that has a scope on it that an 80-year-old woman or a 80-year-old person could shoot and kill them. This is not macho.
Well, it
Doesn't
all
make
comes
sense to
down
me.
to your frame of reference again. Some guys, some and I'm sure there are some gals that like to hunt. And I don't, I come from an area where we have an overabundance of deer. So, we could let loose with a lot more hunters, thinning out the herds that exist in populated areas.
Yeah, they're different seasons for hunting. But I mean, I'm not a hunter. And I could see them having the seasons and that being legal. But I just can't see. I wouldn't want to do it.
I am not a hunter, but I respect other people who
Yeah,
hunt.
but again, the AR-15, there's no reason for it. Now I'm wondering, would they let? Well, I think they do in other states that you could carry that on the street.
I hope not. I mean, that would just be absurd.
Well, can you imagine being in Manhattan and New York and being able to carry a rifle or being a concealed weapon? I can imagine on the subway that somebody that you accidentally hit, bunk into somebody. He says, "You son of a bitch," and takes out his gun and threatens you or shoots you.
Well, not to regress, but I remember reading a story, and this is a historical, a historical representation of some occurrences that happened in the 30s, 1935. There were two guys on a bus. One of them had a set of golf clubs slung over his shoulders, and the other one had a rifle on a New York City Metropolitan MTA bus, and they were going to a celebration, and it was Armistice Day.
Huh?
So it was not 1935. It was it was, this was the First World War, not the Second World War.
So that would be 1917, 19, it was 1917
Okay.
that the war ended.
I don't know exactly what year,
Yeah.
but I thought, in what universe does a guy get on a New York City bus with a rifle? Different times.
Yeah. Well, and then does this mean you could take your gun into school? They have to have limitations.
I think you have to be over 18 to own a gun. And of course,
Well,
that's probably unconstitutional also, given today's philosophy.
right. Well, they're gonna have. Well, supposedly they're gonna raise the age limit to 21, but that's gonna be why. 18 to 21 kids are gonna come up with things. We should be able to have guns. We can go to the army.
And there's probably some justification for that.
Well, that's what they did with the voting age. When it was, I think you can vote now at 18.
Yeah,
Well,
I believe you can.
I think we had to wait.
Year-olds are not a big block of voters.
We had to wait till we were 21 to vote.
So let's get back to these hearings. What do you expect the Justice Department to do with all this evidence? Do you think that Attorney General Garland is perhaps preparing an indictment against former President Trump?
I think he has to. I mean, there's so many things that I don't know whether he can be convicted, because I think parts of it, they would say, what is his intent? And that's hard to prove. But you also, it has to prove one thing. Either he is completely out of it. He was out of his mind, or he was lying. Because everybody told him that you didn't win, you lost. All his, I think there were 2 or 3 people that told him that gave him, the other advice, Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell.
And John Eastman.
Michael Flynn also, I think, says he won. But otherwise, everybody was telling him there's no proof. And his thing was, I don't care if there's proof. I know.
So I think the Attorney General would have to have overwhelming evidence to file an indictment. Otherwise, there's gonna be a lot of trouble.
Well, I think there's gonna be an indictment, but people will. I don't know how the rest of the population is going to approve of that, because they're going to say, "Oh, you're persecuting him because you don't like him." Not that he did. He tried to. We have democracy 2.0, that he tried to overturn democracy. This is the first president who did not accept the peaceful giving up of power, the presidency.
The peaceful transition of power. It's been fundamental. Excuse me for just a second.
Yeah.
Fundamental to our democracy since since George Washington gave up his leadership of the Continental Army. We've always had a peaceful transition of power.
Yeah, but we're talking about things in what he did in the past right now. But what's happening politically, I think, is the Republicans are trying to, especially if they take over, certain key states, the legislature, they might be able to negate elections. They might be able to overturn the elections legally,
and have Republican rule, which I think probably is Donald Trump's ultimate goal, is to be, the emperor, and, continue to have his family, lead the nation. He's got, daughter and a couple of sons, and
a son-in-law.
And, they'll just stay in power by brute force.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything from Don Jr., lately.
Nor have I. It just boggles my mind, to think that this man has the capacity to BS himself into believing that all this is okay. That just because I want to stay in power, because I am, so much more, equipped, able, much more qualified than anyone else, that it doesn't matter if I overthrow the Constitution of the United States. I believe not in the Constitution of the United States. I believe in myself.
In the power.
And I have the ultimate power to do whatever I want, whenever I want.
Well, I can't. Yeah.
What kind of arrogance is that?
Well, I can't believe that the American public, and I hate to say when the American public, but that people, a majority of people think Donald Trump was such a great businessman.
Right.
He did all his businesses, they went belly up. There's a whole, I don't remember, but I can come up with a whole string of businesses that went bankrupt, that he screwed the banks, or that he didn't have to pay.
47 million Americans believe he is the legitimate, rightful president of the United States.
That's the thing that's frightening.
That's the power of repeating the same thing over and over and over. A lie becomes the truth.
Well, that's 1984.
Yeah.
Double think.
A lie becomes the truth.
You say something often enough, and at least some of the people are going to believe it.
That to me is mind-boggling. And the other thing that blew me away was the threats that they threw out at other people, innocent poll workers, innocent elected officials. These people, how much do they get for working on election day? $50 a day for what, a 12-hour day?
Yeah, I have no idea. But forget, how about the people who are now threatening the September 6th committee?
Yeah. What kind of a nation are we? We are a nation of fools to believe the biggest buffoon that has ever walked down the plank in this country. When P.T. Barnum said there's a fool born every second, he wasn't far off. We are a nation of fools to be duped by a guy like Donald Trump.
Right. And plus he's, after he won the presidency, which I didn't believe he would, I thought, well, what could he really do that's bad in 4 years?
Now you know.
Now I know, but also he has stuffed the court with now it's 6-3 the conservatives. They aside from the guns, how about Roe v. Wade? That's probably going to be overturned tomorrow.
Yep. We will suffer for this for the next 20, 25, 30 years.
If the country is still around, if the earth is still around.
That's a big if.
Because now, again, I have the show I have with the scientist, Sid and Malcolm, which he doesn't believe he's a scientist. He doesn't believe that the majority of scientists are right. He thinks this is the global warming and everything. It's just a regular cycle that, we haven't caused it. And he's educated. It's not that he doesn't know it, and he can literally translate history and go through the different the ages of time. But
I'm sure that Donald Trump has him on his payroll too.
Yeah, maybe. No, but Sid is a bright guy, and but he's against immigration. So there are a lot of things that we have that we differ in. Except the only thing we don't differ in, he helps feed the poor. He helps feed the hungry.
Oh, I'm going to sneeze here, Malcolm.
Okay, just turn around so you don't spread any to California. You have the hay fever or allergies, right? Okay, I'm waiting.
Okay. No sneeze.
No sneeze, or you sneezed?
No, I didn't sneeze.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't hear any noise. But what other? Let's see. The funding of the church schools, the guns. There was one other thing I'm trying to think of that was pretty controversial this week. The Supreme Court decisions.
Well, those two hearings before the select committee, that's enough. That's all my head can get wrapped around this week.
Yeah. Well, I wonder what next week is going to hold in store for us.
Wow.
Except it makes interesting broadcasting. By the way,
I'm not as well prepared as normal because I had to go to the doctor today, and then I got I was I was intrigued by these hearings. I wanted to see the details of the January 3rd meeting that was in the Oval Office, where they threatened to fire the Attorney General and the Assistant Attorney General, or the Deputy Attorney General, and then put in this this environmental lawyer as the attorney general who would never even tried a case in his life. And I think it was, there's one of the White House attorneys, I think his name is Rosenthal, said the only thing similar to election law that you have any knowledge of is that environmental begins with an E. And after listening to you today, I'm not even certain that you know the difference between environmental and elections.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is Trump didn't know the difference between, what the DOJ did. They were talking about that. He said, no, the DOJ doesn't make policy. They only carry out policy. We're not the legislature.
Right. We are not quality control for state elections.
Right. Amazing. But anyhow, our time is almost up. Do you have any good words for the friendly folks out there?
Keep the faith.
Keep the faith. If you have any questions or any comments, contact us at malcolmpresents@gmail.com. And if you want any other topics for us to cover, email us. It's malcolmpresents.com. And guys, have a good week. And I'm sure next week we're going to have a lot more to talk about. See you
Take
then.
care, Malcolm. Have a great week.
Thank
I'll
you.
talk
You
to you
too.
later.
Bye-bye.